Newton News is brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank.
This week on Newton News, we have results from this year's municipal election. Voters explain which candidates and issues influence their decisions in the polls. And residents got the chance to smash pumpkins, all in the name of composting. Welcome to Newton News for Wednesday, November 6, 2019. I'm Ethan Plotkin. 25% of Newton's registered voters turned out for the 2019 municipal election on Tuesday. There were 12 contested races with some new faces on the council and school committee, with two historic changes. First, Holly Ryan, who ran uncontested after Cheryl Lappin stepped down, will be the first openly transgender woman to hold a councilor seat. She'll represent Ward 8 as their ward councilor. Second, for the first time in the council's history, women will hold more seats than men by a margin of 14-10. So let's take a look at the results from the contested races. We start with the councilor-at-large candidates. In Ward 2, Susan Albright and Jake Auchincloss retained their seats against two challengers. There was an upset in the Ward 3 race, as incumbent Jim Cody lost to newcomer Pam Wright. Andrea Kelly will stay on. In Ward 5, former Alderman Paul Coletti's bid for city council was unsuccessful. Incumbents Andrea Downs and Deb Crossley will hold on to their seats for another term. Yet another upset happened in Ward 6 as Alicia Bowman defeated Greg Schwartz by a mere 30 votes, while Vicki Danberg stays on with the most votes in that race. Here are the results from the school committee races, where each Newton resident could vote for one candidate. In Ward 4, Tamika Olszewski easily beat Alexander Koifman by almost 6,000 votes. In Ward 5, Emily Prenner prevailed over Lev Agronovich, again by almost 6,000 votes. And in Ward 6, Ruth Goldman will retain her seat on the committee. For the ward councilor races, former Alderman Alan Ciccone Sr. didn't get enough votes to oust the incumbent Maria Greenberg. It was a close race for the Ward 2 councilor, but incumbent Emily Norton retains her seat with 94 votes over challenger Brian Barash. Third time is the charm for Julia Maliki as she wins the Ward 3 councilor seat over Carolina Ventura. She replaces Barbara Brussel Glazer. Another close race took place in Ward 5 between Catherine Winters and Bill Humphrey. Humphrey skated by Winters by only 34 votes. He replaces Councilor John Rice. And in the Ward 6 ward councilor race, Councilor Brenda Noel stays on as she beat challenger Lisa Gordon. Those are the unofficial results. The Newton Election Commission will review and ultimately certify the results within the next 10 days. During Election Day, we went to the polls to hear who the voters were voting for and why. We also learned which major issues they hope their newly elected or re-elected candidates will prioritize. Who are you voting for?
So, hi, I'm Dean Fairchild. I'm voting for Brenda Noel for Ward 6 City Councilor. She's one of the most engaged councilors out there. She engages with the community and she votes from a heart as well as from a data-driven solution.
I think most of the candidates that I looked at seem to have pretty similar agendas. I didn't really have any favorites. I used to interact with a number of people that have been on the council for a long time, so I voted for them. But I did select a couple new people as well.
Candidates who have novel ideas but also address the issues that we're all concerned about at every age, and especially never to vote for candidates who offer splinter kind of views, cultural kind of issues that separate us.
I'm voting for Kathy Winters for my ward councilor. She, I think, knows the ward really well, has done a lot of meeting with constituents, knows important issues inside and out, like streets and sidewalks, that kind of thing, has a lot of relevant experience, so I'm looking forward to casting my vote for her.
So I'm voting for Tariq Lucas and Brenda Noel.
Lisa Gordon. She's running for Ward 6 ward. I've already voted for her, and I'm trying to get everyone on board to vote for her because she speaks from her heart. She talks to the residents of Newton, she listens to them, and she will be the voice of the people of Newton.
I voted for Cody, James Kim Cody. I voted for. I think he's a good candidate.
Who is your favorite candidate? Do you have one?
I have a candidate that is not on my ward, and actually he's Mr. Coletti. I thought he was good when he was in the council before, when it was alderman, and he really impressed me.
I'm supporting Greg Schwartz.
Vicky Danberg, Greg Schwartz, whole bunch of candidates. You've got a lot of great candidates running this year.
And what are the issues that are driving that decision?
Yeah, the big thing here is, are we a welcoming city or not? That's the big thing, is like we've got a lot of development coming up, and how do we do development? And we worked really hard to get here as a family, and we want to make sure the door is open for others to follow in our footsteps.
So I think the most important issue is development and traffic, and making sure that we have development that fits the scale of Newton and doesn't overwhelm our ability as a city to cope with it.
There's so much development that they're not even thinking about what's going to happen with the school, with the population in the schools. And these are issues that no one seems to really think about. They just want pie in the sky, let's do this because it looks good, but they're not really thinking.
Yeah, I think development for me is not the most important issue. I think it has been a little bit blown out of proportion in this election, or at least in coverage of the election. I think in talking to a lot of voters, I've seen that it's not necessarily the most important issue to them, even though I think it has been painted as this election has been painted as sort of a referendum on development.
I'm still worried about all the development, especially taking what Newton has been in the past and taking the historic Newton away. I'm concerned about that, but I know that we have to advance to keep up with today's world, and we're going into a new age, and we have to develop as needed.
I'm not in favor of development in green space. So, the issue of the new Cal development in Auburndale was something that was of interest, but I didn't see anybody that was really pushing that. So
Issues like housing, while they're important, and I totally understand their importance, I think just aren't on the front of my mind as much as really, really direct things that you can see on the ground, like streets and sidewalks and that kind of thing.
a lot of the people are interested in climate change. That's certainly a high interest to me. I think keeping green space in Newton is also very important.
I am very concerned about the marijuana, the pot shops. I have 15 grandchildren, and I have 14 of them living in the city, and I will tell you that I'm very concerned about where the city is headed with the pot shops.
We were, I just believe as a resident, I don't want 9 pot shops in Newton Center, in the Newton villages. And right now there's a controversy around the one over at the Four Corners by Whole Foods. And it looks like a lot of the councilors are for it. And I just think that I just can't believe that we're here looking at having shops, up to 9 of them.
Greetings and good day. My name is Seth Bai, the Director of Veteran Services for the City of Newton. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Veterans Update. Today we will be bringing you a brief public service announcement of the activities and events that are going on in the Garden City, throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and all things veterans related. Newton will pause to hold an observance and ceremony to honor our veterans in proper fashion on Veterans Day, Monday, November 11th, 2019, at the American Legion Post 440 on 295 California Street. We will begin the day with another outstanding donation drive beginning at 10 a.m. All participants who attend and donate will be entered to win an iPad mini tablet. Parents, we will have light refreshments and several patriotic-themed children's activities to participate in prior to the beginning of the ceremony at 11 a.m. We will be joined by both Cell Phones for Soldiers and Operation American Soldier to collect these care package items to be shipped to servicemen and women currently forward deployed. At 11 a.m., the hour 101 years ago, when the Allies of World War I and Germany signed the peace agreement, we will begin the city's Veterans Day observances. This year's keynote speaker is retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Ingrid Centurion. Ingrid, a 22-year veteran, served as a helicopter and fixed-wing pilot instructor, and test pilot during her distinguished career that included a combat tour in Iraq. The Veterans Day observances will serve as our November gathering. As our regular fourth Tuesday of the month open house falls on Christmas Eve, we won't be getting together again until our January post-holiday party on Tuesday, January 28th, to celebrate the start of a new year. That will be held at the Post 440 from 5:30 to 7 at 295 California Street. This month's mobile food market will be held at the Post 440 on Friday, November 15th. The partnership between the Post 440 and the Greater Boston Food Bank provides approximately 32 pounds of food each month to veterans and anyone else in need. That will wrap up things today here on Veterans Update. Stay tuned for more information, and we look to see you at the American Legion Post 440 on November 11th at 10 a.m. to pay tribute to our Newton veterans. This is Seth By signing off. God bless America.
Composting has never been more fun than it was this past Saturday, as Newton residents brought their Halloween pumpkins to City Hall and smashed them to pieces, and all for a good cause. We have more from the first annual event. For those Newton News viewers uninterested in the results of yesterday's election, and who instead tune in weekly in hopes of seeing inanimate objects smashed into tiny pieces, this story, at long last, is for you. On Saturday, Newton's Office of Sustainability teamed up with Newton's new compost collection company, Black Earth Compost, and invited Newton families to City Hall to smash their leftover Halloween jack-o'-lanterns. The pumpkins were obliterated using the 3 primary pumpkin obliteration methods: thrown, by hand, into the ground, hurled against a spiked wall, and of course, vaulted via catapult.
Put it right in here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Whoa! Go get it! You can go get it if you want.
Juanita Trabert, Director of Sustainable Materials Management for the City of Newton, estimated that 10 tons of pumpkin would be composted during the 3-hour smashing window. She also explained the genesis of the first annual event.
Yeah, this is the first ever pumpkin smash for the City of Newton. We got the idea from one of our volunteers, and she brought the idea to me this summer and said, hey, I've heard about other towns and communities that have done this, and the whole goal is to get a focus on managing pumpkins, managing organics, so that they don't end up in the trash. And so I told her I was interested. She got together some information from some of those other events, and I looked through that, and I thought it was a really great concept and could be a lot of fun for the community. So we presented it to the mayor. She was very supportive. She was really enthusiastic, thought it was a great idea. And we did a lot of promotion to get people here, and it clearly worked. We've got a lot of people here.
Plenty of pumpkins survived the day, and we'll be lucky enough to make it onto Thanksgiving tables later in the month. But remember to treat those, and all compostable materials, with the same care as these misfortunate gourds. Ethan Plotkin, Newton News, City Hall. A promise of engaging with state-of-the-art virtual and augmented reality software and platforms, and demonstrations of the latest in VR/AR tools and equipment brought together teachers, community members, tech heads, and even the mayor of Newton for the grand opening of Empow Labs in Newton. Empow Labs, a new XR makerspace from Empow Studios, is a collaborative center primarily created for teens and adults, located at Empow's Newton studio. Its core mission is to provide opportunities for learning, professional development, and peer networking in technologies likely to transform the digital, business, medical, and entertainment industries of the future. These fields, areas such as VR/AR/mixed reality, 3D design and modeling, robotics, wearable technology, the Internet of Things, and human-machine interfaces, hold significant potential in carving out career pathways, yet are avenues where learning has proven difficult simply due to high equipment costs and a lack of high-quality teaching and mentoring. Empow Labs seeks to change that. Founder of Empow Labs, Leonard Tunick, says that, quote, augmented and virtual reality is projected to be a $1 trillion industry over the next decade, enabling and transforming a wide range of markets. Opportunities for learning and innovation are endless, and I'm excited to support people working or living in the Metro West region who want to learn and participate in this industry. The ribbon-cutting ceremony kickstarts a slate of scheduled classes and workshops that begin on November 8th in Newton. Massachusetts State Senators Cynthia Cream and Jason Lewis visited Newton North High School to talk about the newly passed Student Opportunity Act and how it will benefit students statewide and in Newton. Massachusetts consistently ranks among the top states for K-12 education, yet a highly ambitious new bill from Beacon Hill, the Student Opportunity Act, intends to devote an additional $1.5 billion to public schools over the next 7 years. On Tuesday, October 22nd, Newton North welcomed the two authors of the legislation, State Senator Jason Lewis of Winchester and State Senate Majority Leader Cynthia Cream of Newton. Mayor Ruth Ann Fuller, as well as school committee officials from Newton and Brookline, were in attendance. The bill, Senator Lewis emphasized, would increase funding and provide additional support for low-income schools and students.
We recognize, this isn't just about spending more money, it's about making sure that those funds are really going to make a difference in providing a quality education for all students in all districts. And we really want that previous slide that had those persistent and troubling achievement gaps. We really want to try to, finally, I would hope we could completely close those, but at least let's make progress on narrowing those achievement gaps. And we know from a lot of research that what lies behind those achievement gaps is really opportunity gaps, that there's just not the same access to opportunity. And so we have to increase those opportunities for our kids, particularly in our gateway cities, low-income communities, immigrant communities, so that they have the opportunity to really achieve at their full potential.
While lawmakers in Newton and Brookline lauded the legislation and celebrated its progressive direction, they requested additional information on revenue streams and wanted to know how much the bill would cost taxpayers from higher income districts. Here's Mayor Fuller.
The vagaries of and I know why your hands are tied, but just saying it's going to be more, if you can even tell us the floor, not the ceiling, anything more specific than you can offer, and the sooner the better, even if you say there's a lot of uncertainty and don't, we're grasping for some hard data, and waiting till January, February, March is really problematic.
The senators declined to discuss specifics, mostly for lack of explicit data, but nonetheless, school officials in both towns expressed support for the bill. Newton Superintendent David Fleischman appreciated the bill's egalitarian vision and was excited to welcome state support for low-income Newton students and school transportation.
I think local districts who can afford to pay more or support their students, we should be doing that. Obviously, we need state funding as well, because we have students in need here who are low income, who are English learners, and so the additional funding will help, as will the additional transportation funding for our students in special education. That's something that we've needed support in for a while, and so I'm happy they included that in the bill.
Senators Lewis and Cream will continue making their case to Massachusetts education officials as the bill, which passed through the state Senate unanimously, moves to the Massachusetts House of Representatives. Ethan Plotkin, Newton News, Newtonville. The Farm Grill and Rotisserie held a fundraiser to benefit the Carroll Center for the Blind. This unique fundraiser gave participants the opportunity to taste food while blindfolded, to experience what it's like to be visually impaired. Since 1936, the Carroll Center for the Blind, located on the corner of Center Street and Cabot Street, has been supporting local kids, teenagers, and adults who are either vision impaired or transitioning to visual impairment. As part of this year's fundraising efforts, the Carroll Center teamed up with Farm Grill Restaurant on Needham Street to offer donors a unique dining experience. Participants donned visual occluders, aka blindfolds, and were guided through a multi-course Greek feast with the help of Maura Mazaka, one of the center's visually impaired instructors.
Bring it behind the fork and start cutting a semicircle around to cut what we consider a bite-sized piece.
Alex Iliadis, chef and owner of the Farm Grill, was first introduced to the Carroll Center after his favorite school teacher became visually impaired. Iliadis and his team delivered course after course of delicious wine and food. First, a chopped Greek salad, followed by a traditional lemon chicken rice soup called avgo limono. The main course, beef and chicken kebabs, accompanied by moussaka, rounded out the savory portion of the meal. For the grand finale, diners enjoyed baklava and a delicious orange pie. The event was the first of its kind, but Carroll Center President Greg Donnelly seemed thrilled by the reception and looked forward to strengthening the partnership with Alex and the Farm Grill moving forward. He also emphasized the importance of the experience, noting that vision is a privilege that can vanish later in life.
So excited. We filled the room with a lot of generous people, and it's all about giving back. We give back to our clients. This restaurant is also supporting them through this event. So there's many individuals that, especially seniors, that can't afford services that might be funded by the state for younger children and adults. And so this is a great event, and our philanthropy through the Carroll Center and our commitment is to make sure no one is left behind. So we're committed that anyone that needs our care and services will always receive them. This experience was the first for me for, virtually dining in the dark. And you certainly use all your senses. You eat a lot slower, a little messier, but it really gives you a sense of accomplishment once you get through it. And that's virtually what we see in our clients on campus when they're learning new skills. When you go blind or you're vision impaired and you're losing your vision, it's really a traumatic loss. It's an adjustment to that vision loss. And those with sight often take it for granted. Our eyesight is very fragile and we can lose it at any time. So an event like this is great spirit and fun, but also we need to think of those that are in need, including potentially us in the future of experiencing vision loss.
Sunday night's blind tasting proved the Newton community's commitment to service. It also finally confirmed what all of us already knew, that beef kebabs, tzatziki, and baklava are delicious regardless of visual ability. Ethan Plotkin, Newton News, Newton Highlands. Founded in 1959, the Newton Chinese Language School celebrated its 60th anniversary this past weekend, with many local officials recognizing the school for preserving and sharing Chinese culture with the community. Here's more from the celebration.
欢迎大家来到牛顿经文学校60周年生日。If you're looking for opportunities to serve, participate in the Parents Council and our support education program.
The body of families and just seeing the community that your school generates is marvelous.
我们董事长已经把官方的话说完，我就说2句私房话吧。首先，我想再一次向我们所有牛顿中文学校的这个师生领导和家长表示我最衷心的感谢。
目前是全美中文学校协会基金会的董事长。60年，老一代从青春到白发；60年，新一代桃李正芬芳。我们欢迎您。
在
She's a House of Representative. She has represented Newton since 1995. And let's welcome Ms. Thompson.
So I'm so grateful that you're all here. I'm grateful to be here to celebrate this wonderful occasion. Thank you.
This is just amazing. 60 years. Look at that, 1959, bringing your passions and energy. And I'm so pleased 60 years ago, or I'm guessing it was 61 years ago, somebody had the foresight to pick Newton. We're so pleased that you've been embedded in our community. On behalf of all of our residents, I, Ruth Ann Fuller, Mayor of the City of Newton, hereby proclaim October 12th, 2019 to be the Newton Chinese Language School Day in the City of Newton. Congratulations.
Performance. I mean, I was right up here in the front row, and it was just spectacular. The colors, and so beautiful, the performances. And I just want to say to Anping for always being so wonderful at welcoming all of us into your community. And I love participating in your events. The food is spectacular, and the cake is amazing, as Mayor Fuller noted. And I hope there's dumplings on the menu.
You should have told me a little bit earlier, so we'll make sure there'll be dumplings. We were so glad. And the Newton, 60 years, we'll always be using the Newton Public School building, so this is a tremendous support. Without support, I doubt we can stay in Newton for 60 years. And for over 40 years, we've been at the Newton Day Middle School. So let's take this opportunity to give a warm thank you to Newton School Committee, Newton School Department, and the Newton Committee. Let's give a warm
I'm Lee Norton, the Ward 2 Councillor of Newton, to join us today. So I want to invite her to give us a few words for tonight.
Elected, I had the opportunity to tour the school and see what an incredible benefit it is for the folks who attend and for the wider community. It's not just academics, it's dance, it's athletics, it's really this amazing magic that happens every Sunday.
That's it for this week's Newton News. I'm Ethan Plotkin. If you missed any of this week's newscast, you can watch it online at newtv.org. Thanks for watching, and hey, thanks for voting. We'll see you next week.
Newton News was brought to you in part by the Village Bank. Your village, your bank.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be?
You go and step out of the vehicle for me?
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.